Hi, we're here in the Natural Selection exhibit at the Creation Museum because in this lesson you're going to be learning about the origin of life and natural selection. Now when we think about the origin of life, most evolutionists, what they're really looking for is they're looking for all of the elements that are needed for life, things like nitrogen and carbon, and especially water when they're looking for life on other planets. They think those are the key elements that are needed for life to originate because they believe that life came from non-life. And if they just have all these elements, somehow life can evolve given enough time. But the real key is not all of these elements. The real key is information. You need information encoded in the DNA to make living things. Well, for evolutionists, the problem is, where does this information come from? I mean, information requires an intelligent source. And there is no such mind, so to speak, when it comes to evolution. So they really don't have a mechanism to generate that information. Random chance certainly isn't going to do it. We know that things that are designed and complex don't come about by that even today. So it's a real problem for evolutionists. And many times what they like to do is just merely skip over that and get to the living things. And how did, from one common ancestor, how do we get all the living diversity that we have today? Well, one of their main mechanisms is natural selection. Now, many times when Christians or creationists hear that word, they think, oh, well, creationists don't believe in natural selection. But we certainly do. Natural selection is not evolution, which is actually the name of the exhibit in the Creation Museum. It is equated many times, those terms are used interchangeably, so to speak, by evolutionists, but they're very, very different, as you'll learn in this lesson. Natural selection is an observable process. It leads to speciation, all the different species we see today within a given kind. We certainly don't see natural selection leading from one kind of organism to a completely different kind of organism like evolution requires. Instead, what we see is what we would expect to see from the Bible, that God created these kinds, these separate kinds, and natural selection as well as other mechanisms lead to variation and speciation within those kinds, but they don't lead to the type of molecules to man evolution that evolutionists need and require for their ideas about the past to be true. So what you're going to learn in this lesson is that the biological principles presented to us in the Bible are confirmed by the science that we observe today.